What's up, guys? Welcome back to, hopefully this time, I know I said it the last time, but hopefully this time it's legit, the last episode of the Shady 80. Unfortunately, well, you know, we knew this was coming pretty much. We knew that it was going to have to come back here for some fix-ups. There's been some other issues that he's been having with it. So basically, it's back here for a little bit. He was going to just bring it out for the day and we're going to try and get everything sorted. But because of the issues that it's been having, I didn't want to risk it for the day. So we just sent a tilt tray down and brought it back out here, and it's going to stay out here for pretty much the rest of the week while we fix up a few problems. So on our test drive, we snapped that belt. We got that other belt on it, got him out of trouble. But unfortunately, since then, he has been going through belts. You know, this thing has just been, it's been snapping belts. So nothing worse than belt issues. I always say they're just frustrating. It's annoying, and these belts are not cheap. They're a really weird size. They're hard to find. He's been buying them from Mark's Four-Wheel Drives, but they're nearly $100 a piece. So I think at this stage he's been through 4 belts. That's $400, and he had the belt that's on it, and he's got one spare left. And he had a pretty long drive out of this morning. I figured if he snaps both these belts, he's going to be another $200 down in belts, and then we're going to have to send a tilt tray down to get it anyway. So we just got to tilt it out here. So a bit to go. First things first, we've got to figure out this freaking belt issue. It's not right. You know, I know a lot of people have issues with these stock tensioners in this configuration with this twin high mount setup. I have heard of people having these problems before, and they reckon a manual tensioner is what fixes the problem. Now, as much as, you know, I've heard a lot of it, we've never personally experienced it, and we have run the patrol setup, which is normally the other way around, and not had issues before. But maybe it's the way to go. I've got a manual tensioner on the way anyway, just in case. If that is what has to happen, that's what's got to happen. So we will do it if it comes to that. You know, we thought it might be an alignment thing, like a belt alignment, but as you've seen, with us having a lot of alignment issues, it will walk the belt will walk forward and back, but this belt doesn't seem to walk. It never seems to be half off a pulley. It just seems to snap. It just is there, and then it's gone, and it just snaps in half. So to me, that really just points at just an issue with the tensioner, not so much an alignment issue with the accessories. But we will check all the alignment anyway. All that will get double checked, obviously, in the process. Now, as well as that, obviously, after driving around for a little while, he has bedded in the exhaust properly, and the mufflers have actually bedded in, all the packing and everything's sorted. And it's, you know, it sounds tough. We knew it was tough, but we knew it was going to be rowdy, and it seems to have developed a bit like of a crackle, like really, I don't know, it just doesn't sound very good. So we're putting that extra muffler in while it's here. Hear that? Doesn't sound very good. So another muffler right at the back. As you guys know, we always like to try and get our mufflers as far back as we possibly can. We reckon it sounds a lot better that way. So we've got that other muffler to put right at the back on the tailpipe. Hopefully fix that problem a little bit. You just heard the starter click. That is another thing. So you guys know this starter was cooked when we put it in. We ordered a starter that week, but it was getting picked up that weekend, so it didn't get here in time. So we stole this starter from another engine combo that we had here, obviously with the idea that we were going to replace it with the brand new one when it got here, when it came out to do these fix-ups. But even this starter, the one that we put in for the temporary, has been temperamental and not always starting it, so it's been a problem. So we've got a new starter to put in. We've also got to make our AC lines and get the AC system all gassed up. We've got to connect the snorkel, and we've got to sort out a washer bottle. I bought one. We've got a Raceworks one there to try and fit in somewhere. We've got to mount his compressor up here in this corner, and we need to just do basically all those finishing little touches. So that's pretty much what it is. Just a couple of fix-ups, things like that. But apart from that, it's been going well. It's been driving well. So we'll get this freaking belt issue sorted so that he can actually go for a decent drive and, you know, do something more than just snapping a belt, which is annoying. But he's got all of his, oh, if I can open this door, he got all the drawers done. Look bloody beautiful. So ARB's done all the drawers for him. Yeah, this thing's gonna be a bloody rig. So I was meant to get the flare done tomorrow. Obviously that's not gonna happen now, and he's got the bull bar and stuff coming. It's meant to be there, I think next week he picks that up or something. So, you know, it's nearing completion, the actual build, the touring build. And yeah, what a rig. It's pretty sick. So anyway, we'll get this stuff sorted. So once we have this belt issue sorted and the snorkel connected, we'll do a bit more dyno tuning with it, and you know, actually check how much the snorkel restricts the airbox. It is strange that you know, it's had all these problems snapping belts, but through the whole dyno tuning process of this, once we got it on the dyno, we didn't have one belt issue. So it is strange that it sort of developed it, but you know, weirder things have happened, stranger things have happened, but anyway, for the most part, it's basically just a bit of a comeback. I think it's still got water in it. I don't think we actually ever put the coolant in it yet. We wanted to get a few more heat cycles on the head gaskets, so, you know, dump the water for coolant. Basically just a little fix-up period for a fresh build, iron out the teething issues, and hopefully this time, well, not hopefully, basically, when he comes to get it this time, it'll be done, finished. Actually, no issues, and he can just continue on with his merry way in his rig of an 80 series. So anyway, we'll get this inside and start getting these things sorted out. Looks like he's mounting a fire extinguisher right here in front of the seat. That is, I very much like to see that. I really like it. For anyone watching, put a fire extinguisher in your car. Just do it. Everyone, just put a fire extinguisher in your car somewhere. My recommendation is a CO2, because obviously you can use CO2 on chemical fires. But unlike powder, which you can also use on chemical fires, CO2 is not as corrosive, it's not as bad for engine blocks and things like that. So you saw with the R33.4 of Brad's, how corrosive the powdered fire extinguishers are, particularly to aluminium. Incredibly, incredibly corrosive. If you do have to use powder, wash it off as soon as you can, and wash all of the powder off everywhere that you can get it off, because it will just eat and etch and rust. It's horrible stuff. Good for putting out fires, but horrible for anything else. Alright, so that's actually come up quite nice. I'm quite happy with that. So what I actually found was the exhaust hanger for the back here, the actual rubber had separated and broken, and the exhaust at the back here was just hanging, and it had actually nearly pulled this slip joint all the way out. So lucky this exhaust piece didn't actually fall off, but that would explain probably a lot to do with why the sound had gone to crap. It was probably leaking from that slip joint quite a bit. Not only that, but he had complained about a smell of fuel in the cabin. I'm not sure if it's raw or exhaust. I think for a lot of people, they don't really know the difference. So we need to investigate that, but I'm pretty hopeful that it was probably from that slip joint emitting a heap of fumes right underneath the floor there. That was probably that smell in the cabin. So with that all fixed, a new exhaust hanger and everything, hopefully this thing sounds the part now. I don't really know what to do if it's too loud now with that in there, because as you can see with that, and then with this piece here, there's really nothing else, nowhere else to put anything under an 80 series. It's really, really, really squishy. We know from doing ours, it's very, very, very squishy. So I'm pretty sure they do make for this exhaust a bigger muffler section for here. The only problem is I think that muffler section comes too far forward, because obviously the stock 80s, the exhaust only comes down this side. So the mufflers would probably come right up there. So I'm not sure what we can do otherwise, but anyway, we'll drop this down, start it up and see how it sounds, and go from there. So it's about as much as I feel we could do with that exhaust system. It's just a really, really angry camshaft. We've also got our new starter in this thing as well, so should start up nice and good, and hopefully that starting issue is sorted from now on. As far as this washer bottle and everything, we've got all of that stuff over here. It's going to be interesting to see where we can actually fit it. I just got to find where the hell I put it. Okay, nice little bottle. I was hoping it would be thin enough to fit. Oh! Nah. It's just not gonna. It's just gonna be in the way of the lights. Oh, it's an AC switch. Either way, it's just won't do it. A little bit quieter.
A little bit.
It did take that gross cackle out of it though.
Yeah.
It did take that out at the very least. So we're just going to lift it up and have a really good listen to the first 2-bolt flanges behind the headers, just to make sure that they're not leaking as well, because that would also explain the very fumey smell inside if they're leaking before the cats. So this side's got a little leak, and it's real easy to get out, so we'll probably just pull that out, seal that up with some ultra copper. But the real bad leak is actually coming from this V-band, which is not aligned. Now, he got the clutch slave replaced about a week after he left here. So my assumption is that to replace the clutch slave, they would have had to remove this section of exhaust to get at the slave up there above it. So my assumption is that whoever's put that back end just didn't align that V-band properly, and it's leaking real bad from there. So we'll fix that, seal them up. We'll check for raw fuel leaks, but apart from that, that seems to be pretty much anything that could be fumey or whatever. So I don't know what else to do from there. But we'll get all that sorted. We'll do a fair bit of driving around in it before we give it back to the customer, make sure this belt issue and stuff's sorted. So this morning, it's time to sort out our new AC lines for this new AC system, finally. Just like we did with the Patrol, which you would have seen in the Patrol episode. So officially not my first rodeo. Yeah. So we just took the number 10 line straight off the firewall last time, so it's removed. So we've got to go from the firewall across to the pump, and then out of the condenser. What Rex is just cutting out now is the number 8 line, which then has to go obviously from the condenser back up to the pump. So the pump and the firewall, we've just got, for the firewall, we've got a number 10 pad to MOIR adapter. So it's just a MOIR at each end. We've got some number 10 reduced barrier, and then there is just going to be a spliced fitting with an R134A port. And then for the number 8 line, which Rex is removing now, we're actually gonna try and braze a crimp fitting onto the existing pad that comes off of the condenser, because the pad adapters, like the one we're going to put on the firewall, you can only get them to come straight off. You can't get them to come off to the side, which creates an issue for tight spaces like this. You would have seen with the Patrol, I had to modify the intercooler mount that was made to fit the line, because the pad adapter comes straight off. So rather than do that with this condenser, we're going to try and use the existing one that comes off the side and braze this one to it. Once this is brazed, you then just crimp your number 8 line to the fitting, and then make the rest of the line. And then for the number 8, we're going to have the service port on the back of the pump on the 90. So we'll get into making this. This is our crimpy, boys. We'll see how it goes. Brazing this one on the condenser is going to be an absolute brick. It's very dirty. Probably going to be a lot of swearing, yelling, but we've got 2 fittings in case you know, we need the second one. So there's a spare. Then it's getting gassed up this afternoon. And that'll be the AC system, hopefully sorted, hopefully sealed, hopefully all good. But hey, so far, I've got a 100% success rate with doing this, so it's pretty good doing it this way. Just like we did with the Patrol, it means that we're recreating the lines just from the condenser to the pump, and then from the pump to the firewall, or the other way around really if you're going in the actual route of the AC system. But it means that the condenser, the pressure switch, the receiver dryer, everything is still in the car, is still just 80 series stuff, so it's very easy to service and replace if need be, just like we did with the Patrol. So it's a really good way to do the lines, and as I said when we did the Patrol, I'm super stoked to have this new skill and be able to do this new thing. Another thing that we can do in-house, because it is actually quite hard to find people that do this, to make these lines.
Woo! I think they got it.
Braze.
That's not bad.
Not bad, mate. Not bad for your second rodeo.
Bloody amateur.
Rodeo number 2.
I think, yeah, by my 3rd one, can you consider yourself a professional rodeo driver?
Rodeo, man. Got to do it with one hand above your head. Ah, bloody beautiful. So now we just crimp that to our line. And the way we've done this, we actually, as you can see, crimped that a bit further around than I initially said, because as Rex pointed out, the insulation around the hole that the line's got to go through is not that great. So this way, it's hard line all the way past, the crimp's going to be past that bit of bodywork.
The fitting's sort of half inside the hole, so it's all.
So we don't have to worry about it rubbing on the rubber line. So that works really well. So
you don't have to worry about the bend radius too to come out of the holes.
Yeah.
Plus it gave me a little extra room in case I fucked up.
Yeah. So we had the spare one. But because you can't get the brazed on crimp fittings for reduced barrier line, for this line I actually had to use regular line. So as you can see, this is number 8 and this is number 10 reduced barrier. And you can see the number 10 reduced barrier is actually a smaller line than the number 8 regular one is. So the bend radius of that is not too great. So that was another reason, is trying to get it off the side, and then the bend radius to go through that hole would have sucked for one, and then yeah, it would have been rubbing on the body. So righto, brazed, crimped, new O-rings as we go on everything. So this can go in the car, and then we'll terminate the other end at the pump. Righto guys, so we've got the pad adapter on the firewall, that's ready to go. We've got our lines completed, all crimped up. We've got service port in the suction, and then the service port at the pump on the pressure side. So we'll whack these in, new O-rings all around, and then we are ready for gas and dye and oil and whatever else. Rightio guys, we have success. It's been gassed up. That is 2 for 2, completely bespoke AC systems, AC lines that we've built from scratch that have not leaked and worked. So we had a little bit of an issue with the fan relay for the AC request. So because we've got thermos now, there's no AC fan. And what we do is we actually have a relay that hijacks one of the thermo fans with the AC request, so that when the AC's on it, automatically triggers one of the thermos fans, overrides the temperature switch on them. So we had a little bit of an issue with that, but once we got that sorted, thing was awesome. Took heaps of gas, didn't leak. We're happy days. So all we've got to do is tidy up there along the firewall, and we're ready to go. So I also got the snorkel hooked up to the airbox, so that's done now as well. Another thing crossed off the list. So a few other little things to check as well now. Seems like the exhaust there's no leaks or anything anymore. We can't hear any exhaust leaks now. So far it's all looking pretty good. Righto guys, so this has turned into a bit of a mission. We've been trying to figure out the washer situation with this thing. As I talked about, we've been trying to get this washer bottle in. So if you guys remember early episodes of this build, we had the washer bottle that was mounted up here on that crazy steel thing that allowed for the wiring to go past, which was in the way of the airbox. We ended up pulling it out to make room. That was how this all came about. So this is obviously not the standard location for a washer bottle in an 80 series. Standard location, they're over there, right where Rex is, beside the carbon canister there. That's the standard location for an 80 series washer bottle to be. Not only that,
it was for mine anyway, the FZ. Could be different.
No, it's fine. All the ones I've had, they've all been over there.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm assuming it's the same with all of them. Oh yeah, but yeah, as Rex saying, but they might not be. But either way, this obviously being an 80 series has a front and rear washer. So there's one for the rear windscreen as well as the front, but that washer bottle that I pulled out definitely only had the single motor. So obviously it definitely only used one, which we've been trying to figure out here. We've been trying to look for whatever wires actually activated that motor on that washer bottle. And we finally freaking tracked down a plug that works, but only for the rear washer button. So our assumption at this stage is that he only had the rear washer button working on the single motor for the windscreen wipers that operated the front washers. That's our assumption. I've sent him a text message just to try and confirm that that is what happened or what was happening with this thing, because over here, perhaps they moved it all when they did the gas installation of the LPG, because all of the LPG crap was all over in this corner. So they may have moved it then and decided just not to hook up the rear washers and only have the front ones working off the rear washer button. But we cannot find the wiring to operate the washers off the stalk for the front. So hopefully you can confirm that soon, because that was literally over 2 hours we've just spent trying to look for this wiring that we're pretty sure was never even there. It was just the rear washer button, but it's just a freaking mess of wiring. But anyway, we're trying to figure out how the hell we can get this all hooked up. But I'd be pretty happy just to wire it to the rear button on the end of the stalk. It's a nice little button which would normally operate the rear, but if it just operates the fronts, I'm happy with that. So anyway, I didn't even think about that when I ordered the washer bottle. Probably should have ordered one with 2 motors so that we could get them both working. That being said, if this is how it was set up, I don't even know if the rear ones work. I don't even know if there's a tube that goes down to the rear washers. Who knows? I have no idea. There's a lot of stuff on this car. It's been, as you can see, it's been a lot of stuff changed over the years. So it's pretty hard to try and figure it out on the fly as we're going. So the list is getting smaller. Got the intake back off this morning and realigned the alternator and the AC pump as best we could. Just loosened them on the brackets and tried to align them a bit better before tightening them back up. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully our manual tensioner is here today. As you can see, washer bottle goes down in there. We've got that wired up. It's working. We're not sure yet if the polarity is right. We've got to plumb it up to check to make sure the polarity is okay. But we've got to go get some hose from the local hardware, as well as a new T-piece, because the T-piece on the bonnet is actually broken. It broke off obviously in the last when it was disconnected. I'm not sure if that was us when we did the bonnet or if it was done maybe by the painters who painted it. I don't know. Either way, it just needs a new one. doesn't really matter, it's like a 50-cent piece, but we'll get that sorted and then we'll be able to check the polarity of this. That mounts on these two bolts, goes in there. It is nice and beautiful and fits awesome. So that's worked out great. Rex has been making the compressor mount. It's nut soldered into this inner guard, so it gets mounted up on there, and from there we can start mounting our fuel stuff up there. We're revisiting some of this purge canister stuff, the carbon canister things, just because the line was a little bit too big for the barb, and that could have been the problem with the fumes, potentially. So we're just revisiting that a little bit as well. But yeah, the list is getting shorter. It's getting just about ready to go back on the dyno, so do a test with this snorkel connected, make sure it's all good, make sure the tune's all sweet still with the snorkel connected, and see whether it's a restriction and how much power it robs. But the other thing is, when we put all this Mark stuff together, this idler here was very wallaby, and the other idler down here, that one there, is also not too great either. So Rex has just gone and found all of our sort of spare idlers that we've got.
Told you we had one.
Anyway, so we're going to try and swap out the really wallaby ones for ones that aren't so wallaby, because that's obviously not going to be helping the belt situation. The pulleys are like that, so once we get the belt off, I'll show you. So yeah, check this out. Look. Yeah, hopefully that comes through on the camera, but yeah, it's pretty... Move it along. As you can see, washer bottle is in there nice and good. Like, how good's that? That's nice. Rex's compressor mount. It's all mounted. Yeehaw. How good's that? So I'm working on our new tensioner, which is the last piece of the puzzle, which did arrive just in time. It's needed some modifications to get it to work. Same as the old one. It needs to be modified to fit the Mark's setup. The other problem that I've found with this setup is that with the tensioner actually on the bracket, it only goes down as far as the heater outlet. So it actually clashes with the heater outlet. So once it's on there, we really don't actually have much room. There's not much room to get the tension. So hopefully the belt length is right, because there's not really much leeway. And it also means that to get the tensioner on, you actually have to split it like this. You can't actually just put it on in one piece. So it's a bit of a pain, a bit of a mucking around. So I freaking hope that it's a solution that works. So, I mean, we were wanting to try with the alignment with the old tensioner just to see if it would throw a belt. Unfortunately though, we just don't have enough time, and we know that it can go for quite a while before it snaps a belt. So for the time that we've got left, we wouldn't even be able to come to a conclusion as to whether that was conclusively fixed just with the alignment. And for how far away he lives, we'd rather just put it all on there and just hopefully it doesn't freaking go through any more belts and it's right to go. So we're not going to bother doing testing. We're just going to put this on. We've realigned everything. Hopefully happy days, hallelujah, get it out of here, and hopefully have it problem free. So righto, tension is on, belt's tensioned. So hopefully that is the end of our belt issues forever. Righto guys, so the results are in. The snorkel is extremely restrictive. So, hugely restrictive. Like 40 45 horsepower. So massive, that's massive. But anyway, it is what it is. That's why we went with the airbox that we went for. And that's why I made it sort of with the snorkel entry and everything where it is, because obviously a lot of aftermarket snorkels are designed to pretty much replace these Safari snorkels, because obviously Safari snorkels are some of the most popular aftermarket snorkels, and when they get restricted they need replacing. So of all the snorkels that I looked at when we were looking at replacing the snorkel, you know, a lot of them basically had the same entry point, and what I had thought about was the fact that he'd already had all the paint and panel done, was that even if he does ever want to replace the snorkel, he's probably going to want to choose one that has the same entry point, which is why this all went about. So anyway, obviously 250 horsepower is still heaps. There's plenty enough for a touring four-wheel drive sort of thing, you know. So it may not bother him. That's sort of why we wanted to just try this snorkel, just to see what it would be like. Obviously it's restricted, but it may never be a problem for the owner. But anyway, we know that it's worth about 40 horsepower. So anyway, that's it. The belt stayed on. That being said, the belt stayed on for the initial dyno tune, the whole session. So at this stage, we get it off the dyno and we'll just go for a drive around. We want to go for a drive around anyway to make sure that there's no fumey smell in the car. So we'll go for a drive around, windows up, AC on, see if there's any fumey smell, see what the noise is like with the new muffler. Basically just check everything, do a general drive around and check everything. Make sure nothing funny happens, so that hopefully when he gets it back this next time, when he comes to get it on the weekend, you know, we can be pretty confident that he's going to take it and there's not going to have any issues for him. Righto guys, so just manipulating the plates a little bit to try and get this alignment a little bit nicer. The idler that we replaced, we're going to actually try and press the bearing on the idler through a little bit more, just so that the idler in relation to the center line of the mount actually sits a bit further back, so it catches the belt a bit nicer. So hopefully between manipulating the brackets a bit and pressing that idler back a little bit more, we don't see this sort of wear on the back side of the belt. And we've tried our best to manipulate this one as much as we can, but this one, all we can do is really adjust it before we tighten the actual pump. So we've tried to adjust that a bit more. There's not much we can actually do with this bracket because it's very different in the way that it ties into the water pump and everything else. So unfortunately, that's sort of just how it is. We're doing our best with this side, but hopefully this is the end of it. We'll get this sorted. Go for a bit of a drive today, tomorrow. I'll see if he's keen to pick it up on Sunday. That at least gives us tomorrow to get a few more Ks in it. I just really want to make sure, because he lives so far away, I just really want to make sure that it's fine. I want to make sure it's right before he comes to get it. I don't want him to come get it and then have to go through all this again. So anyway, that's what we're trying to get to. Righto guys, so the owner's on his way to pick up the 80. So we've done quite a bit of street driving the past 2 days. Took it home last night, brought it back. It has been fine. We have had no belt issues. It appears as though all of our issues are pretty much sorted. The last thing that we only just remembered this morning was that we still haven't actually put coolant in this thing. It still just had water in it. So we're going to put coolant in it, and Rex is just putting a new plug on the Landcruiser temperature sender for the dash, because we didn't have a plug for it before, and we had just had a spade because the one we ordered didn't get here in time, but it's here as well. So Rex will re-terminate that and change that over. We'll get some coolant in this thing. Righto guys, bit of an interesting development. The water that come out of this thing is full of metal. Alley metal. Well, it's pretty typical we see of like heads that get machined and they're not cleaned out properly before they get bolted on the engine, and your water passages pick up all of the swarf. So hopefully the oil doesn't look like that. It didn't. From what I remember when we first serviced it, it didn't look too bad. But again, not an engine that we did. We didn't have anything to do with the engine. All we did was put the sump on it and put it in the car. So anyway, it is what it is. It's an interesting thing to look out for. But anyway, we've got some coolant in this puppy. Shady 80 has left the building again. Hopefully for all of us, for the last time, until it needs to be back here. But yeah, hopefully we don't see it again for a while. But we will obviously catch up with the owner here and there. Going to get the thing fully set up for touring, so hopefully when we've got a bit more time to do some things, we can get a few of these four-wheel drives that we built together and go do some cool stuff, like a beach day or something. But anyway, all the driving around trying to make sure the belt was good. You know, that was actually pretty cool because it gave us a lot of opportunity to do a lot of street tuning. So, you know, while we're driving around, may as well have the computer on the thing and just be logging and tuning and stuff. So it just gives you a lot of time to really get the tune. Mickey Mouse was pretty good. So anyway, fingers crossed that's the end of the belt issues for that thing and he doesn't have any more belt problems because they're super frustrating. But that is the end of the Shady 80. Hopefully this time I mean it. That's the end of it. Yeah, everyone's happy. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the build. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out. See you. Bye.